Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about something that I've been kind of like beating the drum on for a very long time in the hopes that people like sort of see where I'm coming from. And this might be a little bit hard for you to like actually come to terms with because it might be, if I'm right, if it tracks, it might be a dark reality of the world that we're currently living. So this is gonna sound like it's gonna get really silly at first, but bear with me, okay? So you might be aware of the phenomenon called Barbenheimer last summer, and that was essentially the release of both Oppenheimer and Barbie, the movie. And it was a meme. People had fun with it, and they thought, uh, this is like a silly, sort of, I don't know, noteworthy thing of 2023, I suppose. But what I think people miss is what the Barbie movie actually says about our modern society. It permits the hatred of men. And people might say that they're blowing this out of proportion or it's just a movie and it's just like a stupid thing. But if you aren't really paying attention, if you don't really see that this propaganda is actually having tremendous impact, I'm going to demonstrate it. And this is more than any other example you could probably give. People have tried to tell me that, stuff that was going on in the Marvel movies was bad because, or whatever, because, there was like an outright sort of attacks on men and attacks on masculinity. And there's stuff that you see in Indiana Jones and in Star Wars and all this emasculation. But the thing is, those products were marketed at men, and many of them were financial failures, right? Even though men still were the majority of the people attending. They wanted to see something that was for them, and they wanted to enjoy it, and they didn't, but they still went. Even the Marvels, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe's biggest flop was mostly supported by men, right? The Barbie movie is different. The Barbie movie was marketed towards women, and it made over $1 billion, right? It made over $1 billion, and if you've seen the movie, and I had to watch it like 3 times because I had to watch it once to see if it was worth talking about. Then I had to rewatch it with my boss so that we could talk about it. Then I think I had to rewatch it one more time just to like drive home like the central message of the film. Now, we can talk about like how well crafted it was and all that. I don't think it was very good at all. I don't think, even just from a filmmaking perspective, it didn't blow my skirt up. It wasn't anything special. It was really generic, and I think it kind of speaks to the quality of filmmaking we are like living in this modern age. But the craft itself, the art, that's not really the important thing. The important thing is, number one, the message that it's sending, and number two, how well received the message is. And this is the sticking point. You see, you can like put a bunch of like commie gobbledygook inside of like a Marvel movie, and men will generally catch on and say, well, that's commie gobbledygook. I don't really agree with any of that, and I don't like this movie. But if you put a bunch of commie gobbledygook in a movie marketed at women and they buy into it, and they're like, oh, this is such a great movie. Oh, it's so relatable. Oh no, I love this so much. I'm gonna wear pink every day now. Well, you see what's happening, right? Someone I know, Rachel Wilson, wrote a book called Occult Feminism, which goes into the sort of like mystical, wooey roots of feminism. Because according to history, feminism emerged from a kind of mystical, occult, source practiced by elites. And in her book, she says that women are more susceptible to propaganda than men. And maybe that's a controversial thing to say, but I'm seeing it in real time. I'm seeing women respond to this. And you know, I'm afraid to say that the success of this film says a lot about what women really think about men. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So this seems to be old news, but there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Shakira, might know the pop star Shakira, Her Hips Don't Lie, is in the news because her sons hated the movie. She has two boys. They're both preteen boys, so they're very young. And this became a big story. So here's at least big enough, you know. You could say it's just e-drama on the celebrity scale, but I think there is an important lesson here that I'm going to try to bring your attention to, because Shakira is a feminist pop star. She is a feminist icon, according to feminists and basically more broadly women. And she said that her sons did not like the movie. So this is from The Guardian. All of the I'll include links to everything in the description, and they're all archived. She writes, it reads, "My sons hated it. Shakira says Barbie film is emasculating." The Colombian pop star and mother of two boys disliked the global blockbuster, saying its message robs men of a chance to protect and provide. In an unlikely dissension from what has become a critical and commercial consensus, Colombian musician Shakira has said that the Barbie movie is emasculating and suggested that it, quote, robs men of their possibility to be men, end quote. I'm just gonna point out right away, this is a tactic that they use, and I want you to be aware of this because you're gonna see this, and you have been seeing this all over this whole Sweet Baby Inc. Gamergate 2 situation. Consensus is used as a substitute for good or factual. So when they say it's become a critical and commercial consensus, they're saying most people liked it, it made a lot of money, therefore it must be good, right? In an interview with Allure magazine that focused on the she-wolf feminism behind her work, Shakira said she had watched the Greta Gerwig directed satire and said, "My sons absolutely hated it. They felt that it was emasculating, and I agree to a certain extent." So again, let me go back. We're going to look at this Allure magazine because there's a bit in there that I want to highlight. So Shakira is a feminist. She is a feminist, okay? Her whole brand is built on this kind of divine feminine imagery. And she embraces her femininity, and she's okay with exploiting her looks, her body. This is what she does. That's why her song, "My Hips Don't Lie," or whatever, was so popular. So she's not a non-feminist. She certainly isn't anywhere near a conservative woman. But she's still stepping out of line, and she's getting attacked for it, criticized for it, rather. I don't like to use the word attacked online stuff because I don't think it's precise. And she even gives a little bit of ground to this film by saying, "And I agree to a certain extent." So her young boys, we're talking I think one of them's 11, they watch this movie and they're like, "I don't like the way the men are treated in this movie." These boys at 11 years old, this is how not subtle it is. Can you imagine being that media literate at 11 that you're yeah, this movie is man-hating, which it is, and it's really two-dimensional. I don't see how anyone thinks that there's any intelligence behind it at all. It's not subtle, at all, and yet women love it. And this is something that you have to understand. You have to get to grips with it. The reality is, women like the movie because they like the message. And it doesn't matter if the message is true or not. She added, "I like pop culture when it attempts to empower women without robbing men of their possibility to be men, to also protect and provide. I believe in giving women all the tools and the trust that we can that we can do it all without losing our essence, without losing our femininity. I think that men have a purpose in society and women have another purpose as well. We complement each other, and that complement should not be lost. Okay, so there's some mixed messages here. Obviously, men and women do complement each other, and obviously women should be allowed to be feminine. But this is like that kind of like, I want to protect feminism, but a sort of status quo version of feminism, by saying, well, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to go back to like where I can be feminine, but nobody can like treat me like I'm feminine, because I want to be respected like I'm a man, but I don't want to act like a man. I also want men to like be able to protect and provide, but we don't really want to give them too much credit because they're men, but we just want them to maintain their role. We want them to stay in their lane, protect and provide, but I'll love them for that, maybe, you know, or at least I won't shit on them all the time. This is like wishy-washy kind of, you know, how do I like answer these questions without getting canceled by the feminist mob, while also like maintaining my own, like, you know, religion essentially of self-worship. Shakira's views on Barbie, which has so far grossed $1.4 billion at the worldwide box office, have been endorsed by a number of conservative commentators, including Piers Morgan, who posted a message on social media saying, "Hurrah for @Shakira, finally a high-profile woman prepared to stand up for men being men." So this is another Guardian tactic, if you guys don't know. When they say has been endorsed by a number of conservative commentators, they're trying to say Shakira's a bad person because people that we consider to be conservative, which is a meaningless term that I can get into at a future video, they agree with her, therefore she's bad. So she is being like basically just saying conservative people like you is slander against that person. It is or libel rather. Thanks, J. Jonah Jameson. And that's what they're doing. They're saying, look, you know, the bad guys like you, therefore you're bad. Other negative observers of Barbie have included filmmaker Oliver Stone, who criticized actor Ryan Gosling for doing that shit for money. I don't know what that means. Stone, isn't that what all actors do? Stone later apologized shortly before the Oscars, saying he appreciated the film for its originality and its themes, and that he had been speaking ignorantly. So he apologized even for that. And of course, they're going to try and get Shakira to apologize, and I will show you. This is from Robbie Starbuck on Twitter, and he says, Shakira nailed the Barbie movie. Not really. She didn't go nearly far enough. Like, if you can't see, and you really, once you understand, like, what misandry looks like and how absolutely ubiquitous it is, and you will see just how absolutely hateful this movie is. And it's not just anti-male. I mean, if you're anti-male, you must also be anti-family and anti-children, because men and women make families. They are literally the root point of our entire civilization. Without men and women making babies, there is nothing else. Nothing else. So if you attack and constantly deride half of the population, I mean, this, like, you're basically destroying civilization. And we can see that. We can see that because look at South Korea. South Korea's birth rates are extremely low. They have feminism, like, on, you know, and going turbo. And this is what's gonna happen. Like, South Korea people are gonna probably cease to exist at some point because there aren't making any families. And where does this antinatalism come from? It comes from the feminist movement. Like, this is bigger than any other obstacle. Like, really, like, you know, racial activists, communist activists, LGBTQ activists, like those pale in comparison to an antinatalist ideology, like 100%. So anyway, here's what she said about the movie. My sons are absolutely hated it. They felt that it was emasculating, and I agree to a certain extent. I'm raising 2 boys. I want them to feel powerful too, while respecting women. Stupid. Like, just be a good mom and they'll respect women. You don't have to like drive it into their skulls. Like, men are not born hating women. Men don't hate women. Like, even men that we call misogynists don't hate women. I believe in giving women all the tools and the trust that we can do it all without losing our essence, without losing our femininity. I think that men have a purpose in society and women have another purpose as well. We complement each other, and that compliment should not be lost. Base Shakira, not really. Not that base, Robbie Starbuck. You can't, like, so I will explain a little bit. So here's an excerpt from the interview with, I think it was Allure. And this is what this is from an excerpt from it, so you guys can see like where Shakira is at. So Shakira made her recording debut with Sony Music Columbia at the age of 13, as has spent most of her adult life in the spotlight. She is all too aware that every phase in her career as a performer is open to scrutiny. This is just the reality of being a public figure. I consider 2005's Oral Fixation Volume 2 her second English language album. On the cover, Shakira plays Eve, clothed only in strategic leaves, apple in hand. I ask if she identifies with the biblical character. She laughs. Eve was a story created by misogynists to put women in the little box where we have to remain silent, not speak our minds, and not be a catalyst for change. To keep things as they are. End quote. I'll take that as a resounding no. She continues, quote, I think there's something refreshing about women when they get to be themselves and be unapologetic, because we've had to apologize so many damn times in the past. So Shakira has a fundamental misunderstanding of the story of Adam and Eve. She, I think that it's worth going into, but I won't do it here. All I will say is that Adam and Eve were both flawed humans. Eve was not subservient. She was not expected to be complicit and all that. In fact, she is the one that started the process of the fall. She's not necessarily at fault, not alone. Adam was also at fault. The story is actually playing out like in real life right now. Women are sort of like, becoming independent, becoming rebellious. The rebellion is how this whole thing started, and men are following them. And that's where we're going. So the story of Adam and Eve is actually playing out right now. Anyway, so let's look at what's the deal with the Barbie movie? How many people saw it, and what's the demographic breakdown? Well, this is from Wrap the Wrap, from The Wrap, called Demographics Show Why Barbenheimer Was Meant to Be Charts. And here we can see the audience composition, and Barbie movie made over $1 billion. I think it did better than Oppenheimer did. I didn't look at the numbers though. And overall gender distribution, female breakdown 66.2%. Way more women went to see this movie, 2/3 of the audience. So, and this, by the way, the first week this came out, so the marketing was genius for Barbie, because it did not overtly suggest that it was going to be a feminist woke fest, okay? And some people might in the comments argue that it wasn't, but I would argue that you're wrong. Like, and I know you're wrong, because if you don't think it was woke, then you think that wokeness is some kind of like, sledgehammer to the face of, and like a slam poem, and like, the American Society of Magical Negroes kind of subtlety. But it's not. Actually, the worst woke movies are the subtle ones. And this movie wasn't subtle, by the way. There's a whole bit where like Ken is like, oh, I want patriarchy, and he just goes and gets patriarchy and brings patriarchy back to Barbie Land. Like, that's not subtle. It's not even smart. It's like midwit nonsense. But when the film was marketed, you got the sense that it was going to be like a send up of the brand, of a classic brand of some kind. I thought like what I had hoped is that it would be like the Brady Bunch movie. If you guys remember them, I think it was called A Very Brady Movie, where they did a send up of the Brady Bunch, and it was making fun of itself at every step of the way. And it was a fun movie. It was actually pretty smart and pretty funny. And it wasn't trying to say anything else. It was just making fun of the Brady Bunch show, right? Which was, by the way, progressive in its own right at the time. I mean, the Brady Bunch, that is. But this movie was not that. It was clearly just a feminist screed. Like, there's literally a scene at the end of the movie where America Ferrera goes on this whole list of first world problems that women have living as adults, which, by the way, are not even unique to women. Like, a lot of the stuff that she's saying, men have similar like experiences. We just don't complain about it. So we just get on with it, right? Because nobody's gonna listen to men complain. So why would we complain? Like, you're just gonna get laughed at, right? So people said, oh, well, it'll make a lot of money in the first weekend, but then when the news gets out that it's not like what you think it is, it will drop off. There'll be a drop off. This is sort of like has happened, right? With other movies that like had really good marketing. We thought they were going to be great, and then they come out, and then they're shit, and then so you get like a decent opening weekend, and then after that, there's a drop off. No, that didn't happen. The news got out. People knew what it was about. Women still went and saw it. So this is why I think this is crucial to understand, okay? This tells you what women think about men. That's what it tells you. I'm sorry, it's true. I'm sorry. This is like the reason why women are generally either ambivalent or antagonistic towards men. This proves it, okay? Without a shadow of a doubt, it proves it. And I think the reason for that must be, well, it's a combination of things. I'll just say it's a combination of things. It's things like the pill. It's the things like single motherhood. It's also propaganda, education, and all that. But it is how it is. It is what is shaking out. Okay. So sorry, this is like, the Marvels, for example, was mostly men that went and watched it, and it was still a flop. Women don't have an interest in those kinds of movies, even if those movies are aimed at women, right? But Barbie was aimed at women, and they watched it in droves, and it had this message. So I want to show one last thing before we end this out here, but I wanted to make the point that, this is why I make this argument. Here is Christian Walker. I don't know who he is, but I guess he's some kind of famous person. And he did a reaction to the news about Shakira's mild milquetoast criticism of the Barbie movie on behalf of her, basically, children. 2 child boys. I think one is 11 and one is 9. So we're talking very young kids. Okay? So let's take a listen.
So Shakira has come out against the Barbie movie and said that her sons felt emasculated by it. This is not going to be me slamming Shakira. I love Shakira. I came on here and supported her when her husband had another woman up in her house cheating on her, probably because he felt emasculated by her power and success as a woman. So I love Shakira. I want to say 3 things about her comments. 1, she says she likes pop culture when it empowers women without robbing men of their masculinity, but that's the problem. The modern man feels emasculated simply by the modern woman existing. The modern woman having success, being empowered, having a movie to go see with her girlfriends that isn't directly catered towards a man makes the modern man feel like, wait, what? It's not all about me. I feel emasculated. Women should have to alter their entire lives so you don't feel emasculated. Man up. 2, it's crazy that Barbie was the phenomenon that it was. It's smashing records. People are dressing in pink. They're throwing Barbie-themed parties. And it almost felt like just because the girly pops were having fun and they had something fun for them over the summer, men got angry about it. They're like posting think pieces saying they feel emasculated, going off. Like, no one forced you to go see the movie. You're welcome to stay home and watch the Lego movie. You're welcome to go see the Mario Kart movie or whatever. No one forced you to go see the movie. Like, women are allowed to have things for them too. And clearly when they do have things, it's huge, smashing box office records. Just like Desperate Housewives. Desperate Housewives was turned down all these times, and then it went 8 seasons, 9 seasons, because it was catered towards women. Women are allowed to have programming too. The 3rd thing I want to say is just a note to...
It's an interesting choice of words. Programming. Women are allowed to have programming too. That's true. Also, I've never seen Desperate Housewives, but is that also misinterest? I have a feeling it is.
To boy moms because I've had it. My mom's a boy mom. I'm her only child, and she didn't raise me coddling my bad behavior. If I
No shit, huh? You didn't know your father? Okay, well, yeah. Okay.
did something wrong, she called me out, and she didn't raise me to be comfortable all the time. Shakira saying her 9 and 11-year-old felt emasculated by the Barbie movie. Okay, if my son felt emasculated by a Barbie movie, I would say to him, well, we need to go do some inner work so you're not emasculated by a woman existing or by a pink movie. This is ridiculous. Boy moms who coddle their children, coddle their boys, and think that their boys have to be comfortable all the time, raise narcissistic adults who then go on to wreak havoc in other women's lives. I've had it with this crap. I am so sorry, boy moms and men everywhere who hated the box office record-breaking smash hit Barbie. No one dragged you to the theater. Stay home and watch Legos next time.
I've been drinking more alcohol.
Sorry about that.
It was funny.
Okay, so that happened. Apparently, if you give mild criticism, it's because you're gonna raise violent boys into really destructive psychopath men. I guess that's what we get. So let me ask you this. What kind of impact do you think the Barbie movie has had on our civilization? Or is it not really that so much of the movie has an impact, but that the success of the film just exposes a truth about the relationship between men and women? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for coming on. Please like, share, subscribe. I hit 300 subscribers. Really great news. And I hope that we can get a little bit further. I think with 300, I'm going to look into like what I can do about adding a Discord server or memberships or something. All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to have another video up a little bit later. Till then, long live Vivian.